Every fighter bleeds, most break. But only one walked through hell 49 times and never once fell. 49 fights, 49 wins, 0 losses. 5 foot 10 inch, stubby arms, started at 23. While other fighters danced, Rocky charged. While they threw combinations, he threw bombs. While they stayed pretty, he walked through hell. 43 knockouts, 43 men put to sleep. Joe Louis, flattened. Jersey Joe Walcott, destroyed. 6 years of pure terror in the ring. Not the prettiest, not the most skilled, but the most dangerous. Because Rocky Marciano would never quit, never back down, never lose. The only undefeated heavyweight champion in boxing history. This isn't just a story, this is a warning. September 1st, 1923, Brockton, Massachusetts. A baby is born to poor Italian immigrants who name him Rocco Marciano. His father worked as a shoemaker. In 1943, he got drafted. World War II changed everything. Not on some battlefield, but in a makeshift army boxing ring. 20 years old, awkward, no technique, but when Rocco threw his first punch in anger, something clicked. The soldiers started calling him Rocky. He wasn't built for boxing. Arms too short, moved like he was walking through mud, but he was built for something else entirely. He was built for war. When Rocky stepped out of the army and into professional boxing, everyone saw the same thing, a disaster waiting to happen. 5 foot 10, 67 inch reach. In a division where giants ruled, Rocky looked like he belonged in the middleweight ranks, not fighting heavyweights who towered over him. The critics were brutal. Too short to beat even a mediocre heavyweight, they wrote. Boxing experts called him a sideshow, a novelty act. His trainer, Charlie Goldman, watched him in those early days and almost walked away. He stepped on his own feet and knocked himself down, Goldman said. I thought, what am I supposed to do with this? Rocky had no speed, no reach, no natural boxing ability. He started at 23, ancient in boxing years when most champions begin as teenagers. Everything about Rocky Marciano screamed, wrong for boxing. But Goldman saw something else, something the critics missed. When Rocky got hit, he didn't back up, he moved forward. When he got hurt, he got angry. And when he got angry, he became dangerous. Rocky didn't have the tools to outbox anyone. His punches were wide and looping. His defense was practically non-existent, but he had something that couldn't be taught in any gym. He had an engine that never quit, pain tolerance that bordered on superhuman, and a right hand that could put lights out. The boxing world was about to learn a hard lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous fighter isn't the most skilled one. Sometimes it's the one who simply refuses to lose. Rocky's first professional fights were ugly, sloppy, crude, everything the critics said they would be. But they all ended the same way, with his opponent unconscious on the canvas. Fight after fight, Rocky would lumber forward like a man possessed. Opponents would outbox him for rounds, dancing around him, landing clean shots. Then Rocky would land one punch, just one, and the fight would be over. His training became legendary. While other fighters hit 150-pound heavy bags, Rocky pummeled a 270-pound monster that would break normal fighters' hands. He'd spar 200 rounds without stopping, run up mountains at dawn carrying rocks. This wasn't training. This was torture. And Rocky loved every second of it. His opponents started to fear him before they even entered the ring. Rex Lane learned this the hard way. A skilled heavyweight who was supposed to expose Rocky's weaknesses. Instead, Rocky's body shots cracked Lane's ribs. His left hook shattered Lane's jaw. The fight ended with Lane unconscious and rushed to the hospital. Then came Carmine Vingo, a rising contender with real talent. Rocky hit him so hard that Vingo went into a coma for 5 days. Doctors weren't sure he'd survive. When Vingo finally woke up, he retired from boxing immediately. Roland La Starza was next, a slick boxer who had actually beaten Rocky in the amateurs. This was Rocky's chance for revenge, and he took it with both fists. La Starza tried to box and move, but Rocky kept coming, kept pressing, kept punching. By the end, La Starza looked like he'd been in a car wreck. The boxing world stopped laughing. This wasn't just some tough guy from Massachusetts anymore. This was something else entirely, something that didn't belong in a boxing ring. Rocky Marciano had become what every heavyweight feared, a walking nightmare with concrete fists and an unstoppable will to destroy. He won by turning boxing matches into survival tests, and somehow, someway, his opponents always failed the test first. October 26, 1951, Madison Square Garden. The fight that would define Rocky Marciano's legacy wasn't for a championship. It was against his childhood hero, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, the man who had ruled the heavyweight division for 12 years, Rocky's idol, the fighter whose picture hung on Rocky's bedroom wall as a kid in Brockton. But this wasn't the Joe Louis of legend. At 37, Louis was broke, desperate, and way past his prime. Weeks leading up to the fight, Rocky barely slept. This wasn't just another opponent. This was the man who inspired him to box in the first place. Rocky told reporters he didn't want to hurt Louis. He meant it. But when that bell rang, sentiment had no place in the ring. For 7 rounds, Louis showed flashes of his old brilliance. His jab was still sharp, his combination still crisp. The crowd roared every time the aging champion landed clean shots on the young destroyer. Rocky took everything Louis threw at him, absorbed every punch, walked through every combination, and in the 8th round he did what he always did. He struck back. A perfect shot that caught Louis flush on the jaw and sent him crashing through the ropes and onto the ring apron. The Brown Bomber tried to get up, but his legs betrayed him. The referee counted him out. The crowd fell silent. They had just witnessed the end of an era. In the locker room afterward, Rocky broke down. The tough guy from Brockton, the man who showed no mercy in the ring, sat in his corner and wept. He had just destroyed his hero, the man who made him believe a fighter could be great. But that's what champions do. To reach the top, you have to climb over everyone in your way, even your heroes, even your idols. To become champion, Rocky had to kill the king. And with Joe Louis unconscious on the canvas, the boxing world knew a new era had begun. September 23, 1952, Philadelphia. Rocky Marciano finally got his shot at the heavyweight championship against Jersey Joe Walcott, and for 12 rounds, it looked like Rocky's dream was about to become a nightmare. Walcott dropped him in the first round with a perfect left hook. Rocky hit the canvas hard, his legs wobbling as he got back up. The veteran champion then proceeded to outbox Rocky for the next 11 rounds, using every trick he'd learned in his long career. By round 13, Rocky was losing on all scorecards. His face was battered, his body was bruised, but his will was unbroken. Then came the punch that changed everything. A straight right hand that traveled maybe 8 inches, but carried the force of a sledgehammer. Walcott went down like he'd been shot. He didn't move for 5 full minutes. Rocky Marciano was the heavyweight champion of the world, but being champion meant defending the title, and every defense became a war. The rematch with Walcott 8 months later, Rocky ended it in the first round with another devastating right hand. This time, Walcott stayed down for good. Then came Ezzard Charles. The former champion was supposed to give Rocky his toughest test yet. He did exactly that. Charles boxed beautifully for 14 rounds, splitting Rocky's nose wide open with surgical precision. His corner begged him to be careful. His trainer, Charlie Goldman, looked at the damage and gave Rocky the ultimatum of his career. Knock him out, or you'll bleed to death. Rocky nodded, walked out for round 15, and proceeded to batter Charles unconscious with a series of hooks that left the former champion motionless on the canvas. All by knockout except one. Rocky didn't just beat opponents, he destroyed them. Don Cockle lasted 9 rounds before Rocky's body shots crumpled him. Archie Moore, the light heavyweight legend, got dropped twice before succumbing in round 9. Pain was a normal part of every Rocky Marciano fight. Broken noses, split lips, swollen eyes, Rocky wore damage like a badge of honor. But somehow, he always made his opponents hurt worse. Every fight was war, every defense was carnage. Every opponent learned the same brutal lesson. You might hurt Rocky Marciano, but Rocky Marciano would always hurt you more. And in every war, Rocky always won. April 27, 1956. Rocky Marciano shocked the boxing world with 4 words: "I'm hanging up my gloves." He was 32 years old, in his prime, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, and he was walking away. Everyone thought he was crazy. Floyd Patterson was waiting in the wings, a young, hungry challenger who represented a massive payday. The boxing world wanted to see if anyone could finally beat Rocky Marciano. But Rocky didn't care what the world wanted. He had made his decision. Unlike every other champion in boxing history, Rocky knew when to leave. He had seen what happened to fighters who stayed too long. He had watched Joe Louis get knocked through the ropes by his own fists. He had seen former champions reduced to broken shadows of themselves. Rocky refused to become another cautionary tale. He had achieved something unprecedented in heavyweight boxing: complete dominance without a single defeat. Why risk it all for one more payday? Why gamble immortality for money? Rocky's retirement was met with respect from the most unlikely places. Even the mafia, who controlled much of boxing at the time, left him alone. They never touched him, was the word on the street. Rocky Marciano was untouchable. He went home to Brockton, a hero, bought his father a house, and told him he'd never have to work again. Rocky had fought his way out of poverty and taken his family with him. Most champions retire when they have to. Rocky retired when he wanted to. In the end, Rocky Marciano wasn't the biggest or the best boxer. He was just the last man standing. If you love boxing stories that hit hard, hit that like button and subscribe for more, because on this channel, we don't dance around history, we knock it out.